Oh my gosh, I didn't realize. Is that an actual? I was thinking I need to stop it.
Don't. Just shut up.
Alright. Thanks very much. We've had the last minute motion being had to council by the director of governance. So we're gonna get that up there as soon as we can. So and after that, we will move to the executive session. Just a reminder, when we're in the reports period, so please keep your reports short and sweet, as much as possible. Off screen questions.
Bonus points at his agenda.
No, what?
Yeah, here, I can back this.
Oh.
All right, we will now move ahead with motion 7. Motion 7. Whereas the split of VP Ops and Victoria VP Ops and DPSA has been evaluated, and whereas the executive has concluded that there should be a more even distribution of directors in the pods, be it resolved that council approves the changes in appendix to the tune of that one part of the halls, blah 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 ops, to move the DUIP under the Vice President of Operations. Moved by Lily, mother of 3 stock, seconded by Avery, I still love you, son, McFadden. Is there an opening from either of our movers?
Point of order. This is a motion added after the agenda was approved. We need to motion and amend the agenda with a 2/3 majority before we can proceed with debate.
Thank you for bringing that up, Senator Baylock. We will now vote on the motion to append the agenda to include motion 7. Can I see votes for the motion, please? Thank you very much. Can I see votes against the motion? Are there any abstentions? Agenda has been updated. Is there any opening from our movers as to motion number 7? Yes.
Really Scott, Vice President of Operations. Yeah, it's pretty much all there. Basically, we just want to move 1 director so that we have 3 directors in the Ops pod, 3 directors in the Finance and Administration pod. Obviously, President and Student Affairs have more, but there's a bit more technical work that we need to make time for. So we figured that internal processes make the most sense to move to operations because IT is involved in things like keys, spaces, alarm codes, and things like that, which are all used by services. So that's something best fit to us.
Thank you very much for that opening. Is there any debate on motion 7?
Thank you for ECT rep. Just for everyone to like kind of understand, is it possible for us to pull up a chart that just kind of says which directors are under who, or for you guys to just say, just so everyone knows? Yeah.
IT, finance, as well as internal processes. Under president, there's external relations. There's
Why would you do this?
Don't have to say the rest.
All right, then. Is there any further debate on motion 7? Seeing none, is there a closing from either of our movers? No. All right. Motion 7, whereas the split of VP Ops into current VP Ops and VPFA have been evaluated, and whereas the executive have concluded that there should be a more even distribution of directors in the pods, be it resolved that council approved the changes in appendix to the tune of that one part of Deck the Halls, to move the DUIP under the vice president operation. Moved by Lily Stock, seconded by Adrian McFadden. Can I see votes for the motion, please? Thank you very much. Can I see votes against the motion? Are there any abstentions? Would you like that noted? Motion 7 passes. We will now move into the executive report.
Yeah, quack, water. Please bear with me. I had so much stuff to talk about I wrote it down, which is never a good sign. Okay, so first thing, that substantial discussion item that Maddie mentioned at the start. Stay tuned. It would have been part of my report, except that I wanted to do it in closed session. So that's on the way. Other stuff, little primer for everyone on the upcoming CEAB visit. For those who aren't aware, the Canadian Engineering Accreditation Board is basically the body in Canada that determines whether or not engineering programs are accredited. So currently, all the programs at Queen's except for Tron are accredited. Everyone in the faculty seems quite confident that Tron is going to get accredited, so don't stress, Avery, and others. But just as an update for everyone at Council, the CEAB is doing a visit to Queen's, and they often want to talk to student leaders, student body, whoever. So some of you may be approached by the people in the faculty of the CEAB to chat because of your roles. Some of you may just be approached because you're randomly selected students. Generally, they will just ask questions about your courses, supports, kind of student life stuff. The CEAB is making a bit of a move away from being purely academic, so they may actually ask you about like what mental health resources are available. Are you aware of Indigenous student supports on campus, stuff like that. Just as a note for everyone, just answer those questions honestly. We want to represent Queen's well, but we also want to provide honest answers and honest feedback, because if Queen's is doing something really poorly, the CEAB needs to know so that they can make Queen's fix it. So just answer questions to the best of your ability and honestly, and don't stress too much about like any of that impacting us here, because the society as an organization is really not affected by this. Other thing, or a few other things, there's a strike notice kind of on at Queen's right now. I'm not sure who's all aware of this, but basically all the major non-faculty unions at Queen's, they renegotiate their contracts every so often, kind of on different schedules. It just so happens that Queen's is in a big financial crisis right now, and all of the contracts have expired basically all at the same time, so they're all being renegotiated. So there's a lot of fuel kind of to the fire in terms of the unions being upset. So the most recent update, I believe, on the strike, and please someone correct me if I'm wrong, is that a no board has been called for February 3rd. So what that means is unless a decision can be reached about the strike about the contracts and pay increases and things like that between the union and the university by February 3rd, they are legally allowed to strike on that date. So what that means for us, we don't really know yet. In our last meeting with the dean, he said that they have a whole group basically working around the clock on what are we doing with labs, what are we doing with teaching, what are we doing with food services if the strike happens, but just everyone should be aware that that is something that's being discussed and is a possibility. The dean didn't seem to think it was for sure going to happen, but it could. And that's all from me, actually. Thank you.
All right. VP Ops.
Lily Stock, Vice President of Operations. Ola Council, what did they do for the last 2 weeks? Took a break, looked for a lower start, mid-year finance review, finance training, corporate initiatives, all the financial stuff you guys just saw. Dealt with some random stuff, fires, audit done, things they'll be doing, key finance reviews, deal with future rounds, post operations, science post stuff, maintain operations, and deal with fires. Goodbye and good night. And this is my meeting. The quote is from the group chat that the exec have with Jay. Who is Lily? Hasn't been at meetings. JK, you are crushing it. First audit in the historic history of the Engineering Society. I'm probably going to get that framed on my wall. That's the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you don't know.
Perfect. Hello, council. Mostly business as usual, at least for me getting back into it for the second semester. Biggest sort of news is that we've now hired an SVPR lead. And he's gonna get right into it. It's gonna be a good year, but basically more of the same to come. Thank you.
Next week's very overall. Really bad. Yeah, sorry guys, super busy week. I totally forgot to send a report. That being said, Finance Administration. What have I been up to? Poster sale planning with Ian, that was this week, so hopefully you landing up posters. Motion and investment plans with Lily, that was super fun. Thank you for approving. Thank God, took way more work than I cared to admit. Working on fixing the website with Mahir. Yeah, our website's sad if you don't know. We are working to fix it. Please stop emailing me. I'm doing my very best. It will be fixed as soon as possible. I promise you I'm not trying to delay. And then working with the tea room to fix the POS machines. The next week, continued work on the website. What else is, other strike stuff that Jack mentioned that I had to add. We did confirm when chatting with the dean they will do everything in their power to remain, like, food will remain open for, like, reds and first years, so that won't be an issue. The other thing that I mentioned was making sure that the design bay and that stuff remain open for teams. They did say that they will do everything they can to keep the same hours and keeping Steve there. Steve's the guy who works in the workshop, but he's essentially there to be like a health and safety rep for the design team. They said worst case they will go to more business hours, like 9 to 5, but yeah, that was all they said for that. That's all for me.
All right, we'll now move into the director reports.
Speech there.
Long Casal, Director of Academics. Over the past 2 weeks, main thing is finalizing by fund proposals, rest is usual business. Over the next 2 weeks, still finalizing by fund proposals. Hopefully they'll be coming to council soon, and there should be an academic caucus coming up also pretty soon. Should be planned mostly the next 2 weeks, an academic feedback form going out to the entire society. That's all for me. Thank you.
Remy Allison, Director of Clubs and Conferences. Things I've been doing over the past 2 weeks. QC kosher applications closed. I have 3 upcoming conferences, so troubleshooting for that, and then a typical project is up and running. Over the next 2 weeks, QEC kosher interviews are happening this week, and then I'm working on the transition documents for our co-chairs.
That's crazy.
Oh, God.
Noah Deshma-Fretz, Director of Communications. Things that concern council. The Bed Fund bought cameras this summer, which are supposed to be available to anybody who's a member of the Engineering Society to borrow. So I've been putting together resources for those. And that's just about everything that concerns council. The rest is in the report.
Tanner Warren, Director of Design. Nothing really important to council, also some stuff next council. Send me a report.
Yeah, I'm
Jock Vice President of Operations. Charlie has been having statics like usual. He attended ad board, trying to make icons, but this week he's been helping plan a camp structure for Science Quest. He will continue to have statics and doing some feedback from the head managers and system managers on his performance as well as mine. And he's also finalizing the camp structure for Science Quest with me and every later, Charlie Angel.
All right.
Back on the nature of career and equity and advocacy, we finally hired SVPR, like Mo said, working with the AMS for the Move Out Dumpster collaboration, which is something I'll talk about later, but it's for sustainability. Aside formal and just miscellaneous bursaries, and then things I'll be doing over the next 2 weeks, just working with the faculty to establish some sustainability criteria for food donation, trying to get sponsorships for Metro products because we're currently out, but we haven't noticed, and Black History Month collaboration with the Black student groups and boys. Bye-bye.
Director of External Relations. It's all in the report, nothing super relevant to council. And no me, just some familiar faces if you're older than
I'm McKinley, Director of Finance. Sorry for the no report. There's not much to report, just Bank of Venture operations back up and running, meeting with DFOs, answering emails, etc. Yeah.
Sophia Brady, Director of First Year. Not a crazy amount of fire and pin ceremony we had last week, which was a success. All those women there also a success, and plenty of stuff for semi-conference. Guys, it was a great morning.
So I'm a Glossary Director of Governance. It's election season.
Woo!
It's like the only exciting thing going on in my life right now. I will be handing out drink tickets at the reveal, so remember, if I like you, maybe again. I'm kidding. I would never do that. I don't have favorites. Anyway, I'll be trying. Jack, do you remember this? This is from like 2 years ago. You're throwing a paper at airplane and I'm in the background watching you. And I found this photo. This is before you, like before I even knew you. This was when I was working for Apple 2 summers ago. And I found this photo. I'm not a stalker. I just found
Resources. Mostly the same over the past few weeks, doing breezy stuff, hired Best Week Hair League, and then we had Director Info Night last night, so that was exciting. And then more of the same in the upcoming weeks, and then getting ready for the hiring fair that's going to be February 26th. So, yeah, that's it.
Neighboring time giving up what I have to here. Website stuff, and working with the go with the rest of the board.
Ian Schaefer, Director of Internal Processes. Pretty much all in there. A couple things I missed. Lounge revamp, Feet Fipco's, and Izzy, of course, she was an amazing help for that. Poster sale just finished up, that went well. Director moving, that's fun, I'm under Lily now. And doing some work trying to fix the stupid lounge computer, because that's an issue. That's it. Also be my lower, please, please.
Max Monterrey, Director of Professional Development. So things I've been doing in the past 2 weeks, just related organizing myself and the team for a new semester, and then continuing arrangements for A&S and Industry Month that are coming up. By the way, plug, we still have A&S tickets available, so if anyone wants to come, just like email me or, I don't know, text PD Instagram or something, and we can get some tickets. And then things I'll be doing in the next 2 weeks, hosting A&S, that's exciting, hosting a bunch of workshops and Industry Month events, and just supporting anyone interested in becoming my lower next year, I guess.
can go in the back of that bag.
Kenny Burgoyne, Director of Retail Services. Not that much relevant for council in the past 2 weeks. What is relevant is jacket pickup. Thank you everyone that came to help, specifically Avery, who was there all day. And things in the next 2 weeks that are relevant. Golden Wars is hosting an event at DAP on Saturday at 2 p.m. Everyone go. Chloe will be there. Everyone will be there. I'll see you all there. And that's all.
Guys. I put it back, I promise.
Hi, Ax, Maggie's after first to event. What have I been doing? Not very much. Hanging out with my Fipcos, taking them to an escape room on my own personal money because Mom said I wasn't allowed to use my budget. And what I'll be working on is creating my perfect games reception guest list on who I want there. No, just kidding, actually, it's you guys can help, but that's it. Bye, guys.
Alright, great. We will now move into question period 1. Anyone have any questions? Yes, Senator Bailiff.
Lucas Bailiff, Engineering Senator. Question for VP McFadden. I know it's a touchy subject, but how long are you expecting the website to take to fix? Because we have quite a few things that were mandated by policy to have up there, so if it can't be fixed in a short amount of time, then we should take down parts of the website, put temporary up so that they are available.
Director Fons, David Penn, Vice President of Planning Administration. The issue was we were waiting on the company that, like, essentially we're having issues with to respond to our IT ticket. Spoiler alert, they take forever, so we're hiring someone who's gonna fix it.
Perfect, thank you.
Are there any further questions for the exec? All right, we will move into the report from the back report. Who would like to give the report from the back report? Yes, ma'am.
Jack, quack, 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 Walker, President.
Did you have to do the hands?
Jack, quack, 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 Walker, President. Glorious draw. Faculty board, okay, I'm gonna give the overview of stuff that I have in my book, and then anyone else who has questions on the faculty board, please feel free to fact check me or add stuff if I miss it. The most recent faculty board, the big discussion item was the prospect of adding direct entry screens to other disciplines. Comp had their direct entry screen last year, added Tron to direct entry stream, as we all know. The discussion was around adding it for, I believe, for smaller programs, so I believe it was Chem, Civil, Geo, and Mining, is that correct? Chem, Civil, Geo, and Mining, with the idea being basically that by adding a direct entry stream, those programs will pop up on like OUAC when people are applying to universities more, because right now it just pops up as Queen's General Engineering, and so you'll attract more people who like those topics, and so you'll get more people in those programs. Because right now Mac and ECE are a bit bloated and are struggling administratively, and the smaller programs generally are getting smaller, and it causes financial problems. So that's kind of the reasoning for that. All of the students present, I think, were quite critical of that, as I think probably most of us are quite critical of the idea of direct entry streams in general, because we all love our our general first year. So nothing was really decided, like there was no motion, it was just a discussion item. But we made the case that A, Queens is not hurting for applicants, they get like 7 applicants for every 1 seat they have. So it's not that they need more applicants, it's that they are, at least our view is that they need to do a better job of getting people who are already here to go into those programs. We floated a whole bunch of different ways to do that, including like getting some more focused labs in APSC 102, which is the first year lab course, to give people a better sense of the different programs, like revamping how we're sort of doing the discipline nights and discipline fair. We discussed a lot of different stuff. There hasn't been any communication about this since. There was talks about putting together like a first year focus group with the Associate Dean Academic, but we haven't heard anything about it since. But that was the discussion, that was the main point. Other than that, there was the usual updates about like some faculty members receiving grants and awards and chairships and such. That I didn't write down the specific stuff because we don't really know. And I believe that was all the main stuff. If anyone else has other things that they remember.
The only thing I was gonna add was the other point we brought up was just being more clear when they're trying to like show examples of what the disciplines are. Like they kept naming examples of like, oh, this is us trying to like convince kids into chem, and we were like, oh, our bad, we thought that was you trying to convince us to go into like civil. So like they are trying, they're just very not clear with what they're trying to show.
Yeah, like you take like a lab that they consider to be like a prototypical chemical engineering lab, but they don't say that today, this is what chem eng is going to be like, and you're like, you know, drawing a diagram on SolidWorks, and so you're like, oh, it's SolidWorks, it must be mech, this is what mech is. And then CAV visit, they talked about, I mentioned that largely in my report, but a lot of the same stuff that I said they said.
They also, there's quite a few processes. Maybe they didn't do it. I thought we were just going for it. Fine, we decided to find faculty board reps for Thea Thurston. Find a for the personal beverage. Beverage. Yeah, CAB, there's also quite a few for us that seem to be very displeased by the amount of extra work that they have to put in for their visits, and so we're curious how that's going to continue to develop because busy to be trying to mitigate their results.
Amazing. Is there any further faculty board? All right, we'll now move into the AMS report. Who would like to give AMS report?
Jack, quack, Walker. I can give this one. Give me a second to pull up the agenda on my computer because it was before the break.
Lucas Baylog, Engineering Center, right there. We had a lovely chat about housing. Turns out people in the nearby communities aren't happy that students keep taking over all their houses in their communities. So yeah, they're actually kind of trying to convince the AMS to help them tell City Council to get more like apartment buildings on Johnson Street and Brock Street. So that was kind of an interesting conversation that we didn't have time to continue out. They passed some club ratifications. Turns out that's a bit of a mess. They split the club ratifications in two and didn't tell anybody. I know that because I was in the second half. I had to email that, so that's fun. They finally got a speaker, but they elected them at the end. Members of the AMS are doing, and they asked how they can better be told what to do, which I was confused by.
Yeah. It's all coming back.
Yeah.
Any further AMS reports? Awesome, we will move into the Senate report.
Lucas Baylog, Engineering Center. There's no written report in the agenda. There is a full PDF in the appendices about our recap of the November Senate meeting that happened on the same day as last council. That November meeting was, again, primarily about the long-term strategic plan, which apparently they are now no longer calling 2040 and have a new name. I don't know. The dean also talked about that long-term strategic plan in our faculty board, so we're excited to see where that goes. Apparently engineering might now also be growing or shrinking or staying the same. I'm getting cited multiple things. It's fun. Principal's office is nearly ready to send something out. I've been told within the next 3 business days we can expect a message to the broader community, so I'm excited to see that. There was, again, a delay on a tabling of a research strategic plan due to lack of Indigenous consultation, as well as a few other broader consultations that were missed by decision makers, so that's going to hopefully come back soon, and I intend to reach out to some of the profs that brought up those concerns, because there's actually a lot of engineering profs that brought up those concerns, which is good when we're present. And there was also a conversation about the Queen's Graduate Awards, so graduate students will still be getting that award next year, but they're still making those offers for that, so that's at least some good news to our graduate counterparts, as well as we're actually still going to have some master students via TAs, but there's still a lot up in the air. We're expecting a lengthy conversation at this next Senate meeting in a week and a half about our long-term strategic plan, at which point we're going to decide how we want to talk about it at council. So yeah, no, it's coming. And if you have friends at ASIS, I'm getting reports. I got a phone call rather early this morning that there was some things presented that were not necessarily how I feel Queen's 2040 or the long-term strategic plan is going to be. So if you have concerns, please direct people to me. I'm already putting up fires in that front.
Mr. President, report. We will now move on to report from your
Connor Rosie, ERB Chair. Yeah, break. About the ERB, we've got a lot of different action items from all the meetings I had last semester, a lot of things to write, so just kind of was associating that with different people, working to support all of my board, finishing all that stuff, review templates for tonight. Moving into the future, there's some raffle oversight I'll be doing, or more accurately, my deputy will be doing, because I'm not allowed to, because I'm a site formal manager. So they'll be doing that. More meetings this time with ad board and like directors like follow up to what we were doing in November. Working on the transition manual, just kind of dealing with stuff. Thanks.
Yeah, Mohammed, Advisory Board Chair. Advisory Board met and had its mid-year review for Icons and Nginx, and will be meeting every week in the next 3 weeks to have their mid-year review for all other services.
Thank you much. We will now move into the club reports. You're going to hear from the study group. We will first hear from Apple, after which we will say nerds. Apple.
Nerds.
Hi everyone, I'm Sam, Apple Perez. We had an Apple floor tonight. It was karaoke, it was lots of fun. Lily Stock did sing, if anyone was wondering. We booked the date for our banquet today, and we're doing all of our planning and things like that. So everything's well underway. Our merch is also coming out in the next couple weeks. We're working with our department on our discipline night. And then also Apple is one of the programs that's being visited by the CEAB, so I've had lots of meetings with the department because I'm going to be a part of that, and we're going to have, the visit is on February 10th. I'm pretty sure Lily's the only other person here at Apple. But we're going to have an open call to students. Okay. Sorry, and we're going to have an open call to students, 2 sessions, one for students in second and third year and one for students in fourth year. There'll be details to come, but we're looking for everyone's open and information and to answer some questions that they may have. Yeah, that's good.
All right, great. We will now hear from Ken, after which we will say fumes.
Cam.
Fumes.
Figuring out some bank. Maggie, Chem rep. Figuring out banquet stuff, some finance questions at the moment, but stuff. Pool with profs, discipline nights are going on. She is right now, which is why we aren't graced with Charlie's presence, makes it a wonderful day. And Chem is January 21st. Other than that, just kind of figuring out getting back in the year, merge stuff is getting sorted out. Stay tuned.
Great. We will now hear from Sybil, after which we will say beans.
Beans.
Is anyone available to give the report for Sybil?
I'm not giving the report. Mac isn't here. They have their civil industry night tonight. So I have her vote, but I can't give a report for civil.
You can. We have a industry night tonight. What a person we have industry night tonight. So we have like the Max vs. Civil hockey game coming up, and just a few other things coming up. Nothing important.
We will now hear from Gio, after which we will say rocks.
Gio! Rocks!
Last weekend, Lauren Cruz and Geo Rec. Last weekend we had a team of 16 compete in the Juke Games in Quebec City, which was with a bunch of other Ontario and Quebec universities, and we won. So that was very exciting. We have our first queer movie night of the semester coming up. We're working on our winter meme merch drop. Our bed fund reps have been working hard, and then looking forward, we're planning the Geo versus Mining hockey game, transportation to the PDAC, which is like a big Geo mining conference in Toronto, and then our end of semester celebration.
Thanks so much from the clubs. We will now hear from the reports, starting with Side to High Five.
Side to 5.
Alright, Sophia Thurston, Side to 5 faculty board rep. Lately, we did candy grabs back before winter break, which went really well. We did a clerk night that happened. I don't want to talk about it. We are planning an upcoming movie night. We're currently doing a poll to see if people would be interested in doing one in the screening room. So if you're a Side 5 or friends of Side 5 that and you want to go with them, respond to the poll on our Instagram, pretty please. Other than that, we're also been chatting with Iron Ring, which Jack mentioned in the report, about possibilities of trying to keep Grant incorporated in the Iron Ring ceremony. We're considering trying to do something like a reception post-ceremony to like give opportunities for people to have like nice photos and that sort of thing. If that's something of interest, please come chat with me. I would be doing most of the planning for that, and I would like to hear what people have to say if they would actually come to it.
Thanks. Really, we will now hear from Side to 6 feet short of the kid.
Side
to 6.
James Hotor, Side 26 president. So 3 main things. Number 1, working on prepping Side 26 for Side 27 trivia. Number 2, working on getting our budget approved so we can spend money and buy some merch. And then number 3, just working on merch and reaching out to people about that.
We'll now hear from the best year, Side to 7 years of picking.
Side 27. Michael Whitlam, Side 27 president. Oh boy, I gotta write this down. This is off the top of my head. So coming up, we have our Clark night in like literally a week today, and then the week following that, we have trivia with Side 6, and we're also coordinating tiny cups, but it's quite complicated. But yes. Oh, they are because we can't make them on campus or sell them on campus this year for whatever reason. Okay. Yeah. I was like, okay.
Yes, we stopped for that, so you can try.
Okay, lit, then I will. Off the record.
We've done it multiple times.
Like, I was told, like, I'll be in big trouble.
We're going to finish the recording.
But anyway, so that's it for me, I guess.
We'll now hear from Side to 8.
Side to 8.
Rush! Jackson Ross, Side to 8 Pres. It's been a little busy with all of this, and next week's like to get everyone else to pick up. But we're gonna do that soon. We're gonna finish up some of our plans for our year merch, and we're kind of also devastated about the hand cups and some kind of walking over there. Yeah, we're gonna send out some polls, see what our year would like, and we'll stuff on top of that.
We'll now move into our second question and statements by members. I'd ask that we hold off on any questions relating to Jack's mystery item. Do we have any questions relating to the reports that we've heard so far? Yes, go ahead.
What's the problem with private questions? Who's been talking about it to you guys?
Oh.
If anyone wants to respond.
Okay, so
personal beverage.
I haven't even said a real word. You know, I hesitated on my own name. Michael Whitlam, Side 27 president. This all started when obviously we know CEO owns the trademark to the crest, and if I want to put the crest on the Tiny Cup, I should do it through them because I don't want to get sued. And they were like, oh, like we can't do that because I forget what they said. I don't want to misquote Aaron, the head manager, but it was along the lines of the faculty will not let them sell tiny cups on campus. And so they were like, no, we can't fulfill it, but we won't do anything if you take the logo and go with it. So I was like, okay.
Yeah, point of information. From what I know, you're not allowed to sell tiny cups. There's a chance that people in your year are still underage. So if you're second year.
That wasn't the impression he had, but okay.
That's how we operated in the past, from what I've been told. But if this was first semester, you would have still had students who are underage, and that means why we.
Okay, it was the end of first semester, and it was understood it would be in the new year, but okay.
Try again. It might have been because like you guys being underage, like we were science, so you had to wait back in the day. But I'm pretty sure that there's a rule against that, just because you are all of age.
Okay, well then I'll just hit up Aaron, but.
All right, cool. Next person on my list is Director Rohr.
Oh, sorry. Can I just answer? Or do I have to say mine? Say it. Oh, I'm Hanny Burgoyne, Director of Retail Services. Aaron and I were just having a conversation about this. I'm pretty positive. In policy, it says if you're executive, you can't print without the permission either way. Even if you said you can just run with it, like you're good.
But.
Amazing. Is there any further statements or questions unrelated to the items?
Ella Doris, Sci 2A AMS rep. This is like kind of a silly question, but for people who are at the faculty board meeting, when they're discussing like trying to start like the not general stream for like certain programs, would that like prevent people going into the stream from general? Like how like I could go to Toronto next year because I don't have like their coding course, or would that just be like in addition to general stream?
Jack, quack, 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 Walker. Yeah, so my understanding was that it was going to be a lot closer to the comp version that we have now than like hydroponics. So what they were talking about was like first year curriculum is actually the same. It's a direct entry stream in name only where you go into it and you're locked into whatever discipline you want, but you're actually taking all of the same classes. With the idea being basically that you're guaranteeing the smaller disciplines like a certain number of students. So you're saying like you got 30 civil kids in the direct entry civil program, then civil department can budget and plan knowing that they have at least 30 kids. They're talking about, obviously you can apply to transfer out, but it wouldn't be like a first choice selection if you decided to go out of county or into a different program, you would have to apply.
Right. I see a point here, yes.
Point of information, but MREC president, everything Jack said is true. Besides for director to comp, there is actually some first year course differences.
Yeah.
So that makes it harder to switch out of it. I think that's done on purpose so that people don't switch out of it, but just to clear that.
In this one, it's no course difference.
Oh, for those
For the proposed ones, yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Next person on my list is
Yeah, Lucas Baylog, Engineering Center, adding on to that. Yeah, this is a problem we have at Queens. We punch way above our weight, but we don't have the weight to like move things around. So when we do things like our general engineering program, which is fairly unique, all the other universities like U of T and McMaster kind of go a different way, where they still bring in everybody into specific disciplines. So that's what they're finding in their recruitment research, is that's what students are looking for, is they're just going to OU Info or some other site looking for chemical engineering, and then we don't come up because we just have the general entry program. So that's what they're trying to do, is artificially make some of our smaller programs more visible at the high school level. Is you would come in going, this is my intention, but you would still be in the same first year program. We're highly advising and encouraging that they still have the guaranteed option to go into whatever discipline you want afterwards. This is just kind of recruitment, as well as when you have a general engineering option. When people think of general engineering, you typically hear responses that align with mech or electrical engineering, not something like some of our smaller programs in chem and mining. So students that might be interested in that are really love chem aren't coming to us. They're finding they're going to other schools, which I know seems weird to some people that do come in really like that, but unfortunately that's what they're finding.
Next on my list is
Ben MREC president. My question is for President Walker. With the CEAB coming, and that affects a lot of us, especially those of us involved in DSCs, was there talk about what would happen if the strike happens? Because I know that there's like a 2-day difference between those two planned dates, so what would happen?
Jack Walker, President, Direct Response. Jack, Walker, President, Direct Response. Basically, no. Like there isn't, in practice, there's no difference, right? Like the faculty does not want a strike to happen either way. The CEAB visit makes them want it even less, but like it doesn't change how they're gonna respond to it, right? So from the meeting we had with the dean, he was basically like, we really, really hope the strike doesn't get in the way. If the strike does get in the way, we're not actually gonna change anything in how we're operating because the response to the strike will be the same either way. Right, like the CAB is basically coming to look at if we're doing our academics well, but like if a strike is happening, we want to do our academics well regardless. So it doesn't really seem like there's much of a game plan there beyond what there is anyways.
Are there any further statements? Megan Weaver, CE rep. Actually, first, it's relevant to Jack. I have a few friends in Enschwitz who are worried because they're not sure if they have enough PN credits to, like have taken up classes with PN to graduate, but is that like a problem or are they just going to work and graduate? That was a thing that is for people, but yeah.
Jack Walker, Walker, president. My understanding, and this is from being in Enschwitz and knowing the department well enough that I just like emailed the guy to ask, but my understanding is that there was some sort of temporary hold placed on PN requirements for the couple years after COVID because so many people deferred their sabbaticals, and so we lost a whole bunch of people right at the end. So I believe if you've taken classes that were normally taught by a PN in the last 2 years, but weren't specifically in the last 2 years because people were on sabbatical, you're okay. Just because there were so many people that were scheduled for sabbatical. You know what I mean? You've kind of got 4 years of people taking their sabbaticals all at the same time, so you don't have enough cross.
Any further statements or questions? Yes, go ahead.
Member Clerk, just clear up on the small cups thing. So it used to be that if you have the Engineering Society crest, not the logo, then you can't put it on anything of low value, such as a cup, and that's why the only thing that you could put it on was like the big sign that they give out directly at the end of the year. But one of the reasons why we wanted to move away from the crest to a logo, so it could be more reproducible. But when it comes to year crests, the year exec has full right to put it on anything they want without talking to CEO, and CEO has the full right to put it on anything they want without talking to the year execs. That's in bylaw. And the whole thing about the crest only being used on high quality items was in the Constitution. I believe it's not in there anymore. So anyone can do whatever they want, and they can even go to third parties, but it's a lot better to do it through CEO.
Thank you for that point. Yes, go ahead.
Ben Emery, C President. My question is for the Director of Government Executive Speaker. Elections Committee. This may just be my memory being really jobs, but the question about the neutral parties as we approach the campaign period, is it current and previous members, and if so, which positions? I know we talked about this last council, but it's been a while, like that matters a lot of people in the room. So, like, is it just current people holding those positions, or current and past members?
Chloe Mahosik, Director of Governance. Alex CRO is dealing with that, but he's going back 4 years with Better Safe than Sorry, and he's kind of, and again, Better Safe than Sorry, like everyone will be getting an email, so they'll know it's them. I know he's doing all FC, all directors, and I think a few sub-teams. They've decided, I don't know.
There's a list in the motion that we passed.
Yeah, I think there's a list, but I mean, I'm assuming most of the question is like how far back. And, he's got the master contact list for the past 4 years because he's going to people's personal things, not their position emails.
So I have the general elections nomination campaign rules open right now, and I'll read you up the list. So formerly acting and currently acting, members of the executive, senators, members of the director team, members of the elections committee, members of the Engineering Society Review Board, chair of the advisory board, orientation chair, chief rep, and rec committee. And then currently acting, service head managers and assistant managers, science formal convener and chairs, and gear executive and discipline club presidents and vice presidents. That's the list. Correct.
Do you have one for with us? Chloe Mahosik, Director of Governance. Yeah, this one was really easy for me because some people that know me and my brand know that I love good bucket hats, so I'm going to give this to Connor.
right, any final statements or questions not related to Jack's very well talked about history? All right, wonderful. So I have been asked to go through the rules for committee of the whole as well as closed session before we introduce the mystery items. So I'll go through the rules and guidelines now. So the rules for closed session you can find in bylaw 2.d.13. Generally, any non-EDSOC council members have to leave the council chambers and the live stream will be paused, so it will be a closed session. And all matters discussed in the closed session must remain strictly confidential, so they won't be kept in the minutes, and we ask you to not share the information around. In terms of committee of the whole, this is bylaw 2F, and it's sort of a rule that allows us to have a more healthy and productive discussion, so you don't have to raise your placard and state your name. There's no point of personal beverage. It's just mostly about having open conversation. You can also speak to a point more than once, but only after everyone who wants to speak has spoken. What else? I'm still going to be the speaker, but I won't be called speaker. I'll be called the chair, so I'll be managing discussion, but in a less formal way. Any motion made during committee of the whole doesn't need to be seconded, so there won't be a second. It can just go straight into vote. And then there are rules about how we end committee of the whole, but I'll explain that when we get there. There's certain motions that need to be made to move into closed session and move into committee of the whole. We'll start with the motion to move into closed session. So this has to be from the executive, and you have to move that we enter closed session.
Jack, quack, 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 quack. Walker, I'd like to move that we move to closed session.
And then there's a seconding from seconded. Wonderful. Well, we have to move it in closed session first, and then we have to move it. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I believe this is a debatable motion as well.
It is. Is there an opening from either of our members?
Jack? No.
Is there any debate on the motion?
Madam Temporary EC President, define and EDSOC council members.
For sure. So anyone, generally anyone with a placard. Members at large will be asked to leave, and if we have any guests from outside the faculty, will they be asked to leave as well? Yes, go ahead.
Do proxies get to stay?
Yes. Yeah, I believe so.
Lucas Bailey, Engineering Center. Why was this motion not included in the agenda?
Jack, quack, 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 Walker. It's my understanding that motions to enter closed session are not. Okay, so primarily it wasn't included in the agenda because it's not during new business, it's during the question period. And my understanding of a motion to enter closed session was that it's not usually, like, it's in a bit of a weird spot between being a procedural motion and not. Just in my experience with this on EDSOC Council and AMS Assembly and President's Caucus, it's never been an agenda item that I've seen. So that's just, if it is supposed to be on the agenda, my bad knowledge gap.
Point of information, parliamentary rules of procedure, which we abide by when a procedural thing is not in our bylaw, does standard procedure is that any closed session is in the agenda.
Okay, my bad.
Would you like to move for us to amend the agenda and include this motion to enter closed session?
I'm actually kind of lost in where the procedures are on where we are for this one, so no.
Response.
Yes, go ahead.
The executive can, at any point during council, close the session of council if there is something that is not in the best interest of the public to know about. So if the executive put it forward, then they can just put forward the motion without the prior notice.
Thank you for that clarification. Is there any further debate on the motion to move into closed session? Seeing none, they're closing from any of them. All right. Can I see votes for the motion to move into closed session, please? Thanks very much. Can I see votes against the motion? Are there any abstentions? The motion passes. We will now move into privacy. So if you are a member at large, you will